The Terraria 1.4.4 update has well and truly shaken up the whole in-game meta, with nearly every weapon receiving either a buff, nerf, or in some instances, a complete rework. Notably, a handful of some of the most iconic Terraria weapons have been completely overhauled, such as the Terrorblade and the Knight's Edge. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another iconic Terraria weapon that's seen a complete rework, the Horseman's Blade. For some, this may have been your favourite weapon in the game, and I can see why. However, listen up, as I found its functionality to be drastically different after this update. Let's take a look. On the most part, the way you obtain the Horseman's Blade is pretty much the same, being a drop from the Pumpkin. However, the structuring of the Pumpkin Moon event has seen some adjustment. The event itself is summoned with the Pumpkin Moon Medallion, which can be crafted with 30 pumpkins found around your world during Halloween or planted using seeds bought from the Dryad. You also need 5 ectoplasm, which is dropped from dungeon spirits found in your post-Plethora dungeon. And finally, 10 hallowed bars dropped from any of the 3 mech bosses. With this, you can craft the medallion at an anvil, and get the event underway, assuming that it's past 7:30 PM. As mentioned, the event structure has changed slightly. It can now go up to wave 20 like the Frost Moon, and now pumpkins only start spawning after wave 10 instead of wave 7. This obviously makes obtaining the Horseman's Blade a little more difficult, so I'd recommend setting up a trap arena to help you blitz through the first dozen waves, and then head out with a weapon like the Terrorblade, as this thing is simply fantastic at crowd control now, having a massive projectile. When the pumpkins start spawning, make sure to put all your attention on killing them, as the quantity that spawn have also been decreased in this update. With a max drop rate of 14.29%, hopefully you'll be able to have one drop pretty quickly. So then, let's take a look at the weapon's performance now. Starting with the buffs, the weapon's base damage has been straight up doubled from 75 to 150. Additionally, the blade now has an area of damaging energy surrounding it, which deals damage in a much larger AoE. Now, this all sounds incredible, but of course there is a catch, as doubling its damage needs to be compensated for. The pumpkin projectiles now deal 100% of the base damage instead of 150. Although this is lower, the initial damage buff still makes these slightly more damaging. But now onto the killer. The pumpkins will no longer be generated from statue-spawned enemies, which, I don't know about you, was my main utilization of this weapon. I completely understand why Relogic made this change, as it was extremely busted and meant you could beat pretty much anything in the game stood still in a box, but it still hurts me in the soul to see this removed. The question is, with this functionality removed and the damage buff, what kind of functionality can we get out of this weapon now? Well, to be honest, it's still a very strong sword, and is still absolutely one of the best weapons for events. However, its boss performance has completely gone down the drain, now being pretty much like any true melee weapon when it comes to single targets. Even with its increased size, getting close to a boss like Duke Fishron without being damaged is very difficult, and despite its great event performance, I'd still say for mini bosses like pumpkins and ice queens, you'll really need a secondary weapon to deal with them, as I just don't think the Horseman's Blade on its own will cut it anymore. I think that if you're looking for a melee weapon to help you with events like the Frost Moon or Solar Eclipse, it's definitely worth getting, but if you're gonna miss them out and go straight to the cultist fight, you're probably better off crafting something else like the Terrorblade. What are your thoughts on these changes? Do you prefer the functionality of this weapon now, or miss the good old days of cheesing? Thanks for watching. For more Terraria content like this, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.